Greetings, Valverde. Welcome back to the channel of the great nation of Valverde. This is the long-promised A to your queue for 2,000 subscribers that we talked about back in November or December.
We announced it when the subscribers were going up, and then when we announced it, it stagnated. Christmas happened and I broke my leg. So it took longer than expected, but it's here now, so that's nice.
So there we are.
It's more like 2,100 nearly. Nearly.
Well, we're going to have another one. Not very soon. So we're going to, very off the cuff, just try and go through as many as we can now.
It's not that cushion, is it?
In the short space of time we've got, and give you some A's. Here we go. So question from Jessica McNeil. Barring a team up between the two, which character has a better chance of surviving a zombie apocalypse, Dredd or Robocop?
Dredd. Because Robocop has to be like plugged into a 3-amp fuse he has to be plugged into the wall and fed baby food, doesn't he?
Yeah, I guess.
He has to go back to his base and be...
Yeah, I guess, but assuming that was still around... Does it,
then it gives him a maximum radius.
Yeah, I guess so.
So I suppose it's all right, as long as it's baby food and power.
But at least he couldn't be bitten and turned into a zombie. Or could he? Maybe he could if the zombie bit him on the mouth.
On the mouth? Is it just his face?
He could put like a thing.
It's just This is such a good question. I think Robocop would do really well until the supplies run out.
Okay.
Dredd's just a really tough geezer that would...
But he is a... I know he's a clone or whatever, but he is still a person.
He's still a person.
Susceptible
but Robocop would run out of charge like an iPod.
That's true.
Judge Dredd is just a guy. He's like 70 though. He's like the same age as my dad.
He is more.
You're a bit younger than my dad. So I'm going to say Judge Dredd because I think Robocop has to be plugged into the wall every now and then.
Okay. Okay. Drally Seth. What movies or movies do you love in concept/production but have issues with the overall execution? I.e., what is the biggest turd you wish you could polish and bring to its full potential?
You got one springs to mind? I have.
You go.
Tropic Thunder, definitely.
Oh, really? You didn't like?
Yeah, well, I do. I mean, I do like it, but it's like on paper that was such a great idea for a movie, and then when it came out and in the cinema, I had loads of great laughs in it, and that opening section with all the fake trailers. Yeah, really great. But then the act of watching it, the middle act just sags so much. True. Which stuff that Ben Stiller's directed before, I kind of feel a little bit about Cable Guy.
I love the Cable Guy.
It's a great movie. Yeah, it's better than Tropic Thunder, but Tropic Thunder just sags in the middle. It's like that on paper is such a good idea, but the reality of it is just sort of, I find it quite boring to watch.
Yeah, yeah. I'm trying to think. I can't think. Bad.
Didn't do our homework.
Didn't do our homework at all. I don't know. I mean, there's lots of... Well, I would say Superman 4, but I think the concept is slightly flawed anyway. I think if it had been a Bizarro thing rather than Nuclear Man... Then...
Yeah, the sort of rubbish Nuclear Man concept, and it could have just been Bizarro. It's got its heart's in the right place, isn't it?
Yeah.
You know.
And it is just let down by its execution, ultimately, which is budget problems. So
Milton Keynes. I just love that is a thing that happened. But anyway.
Right, some of these are very long, so I'm only going to read the sort of question-y bit, really. Question for me. Considering The Big Lebowski is your favourite film, thanks Ellie, what are your thoughts on the upcoming sequel/spin-off Going Places? It's been filmed, but it seems to be stuck in release hell. Do you think it's a good idea? Blah, blah, blah. I don't even think I've seen the trailer. I know that...
is that a thing?
John Turturro's in it, and I think it's based around the Jesus character or whatever, but I'm kind of like, do you know what, that film is such an island. I don't think it needs...
Are the Coens involved in that? I had no idea that was
No, I don't even know how it would work, because surely it's probably stuck in release hell because of rights issues and stuff, but...
right.
No, I think leave it as it is. I love it, but it's... one of the reasons I love it is because it is just its own thing.
It's that weary thing we say a lot around these parts, just leave it alone.
Yeah, yeah.
Just leave it alone, man. Stop digging the graves up.
Okay, here's one for you, but I think you've probably already answered this several times over.
Who's this from?
This is from Kurt Hades.
Hello, Kurt.
And I'll keep it Kurt, if you don't mind. Richard, what's your favourite Judge Dredd story from 2000 AD comics? And if you was cast in a George A. Romero zombie film as an actor, you'd be cast as a character. But anyway, which movie would you choose, and what part would you have fun with the most?
Oh, so it's a pre-existing part, I guess. I'm going to answer that as a pre-existing part.
Yeah.
I'd be Captain Rhodes from Day of the Dead. He's fucking great. Joe Pilato goes mental. He's really quotable. He chooses scenery, has all the best dialogue. He's an amazing villain. Then he gets pulled in half at the end. Indisputably, it's the best. I know Duncan's just like, I don't know what you're talking about. It's just the best role probably in all of the Romero films. So definitely Captain Rhodes. He's so cool. But also a fucking bastard. I mean, that's the point.
Right.
And I talked about City of the Damned before, which is kind of the Judge Dredd Days of Future Past thing. So it's where it goes, like the Dredd film's very serious. In City of the Damned, they get a time machine and go to the future where the city's been overrun by zombies and vampires.
Oh.
It's fucking awesome. It's really good. It's like the absolute opposite of the tone of the Dredd movie.
What's that one you talked about before, though, with the Sky Racer guy?
Oh, there's Super Surf, like the Song of the Surfer, Chopper. Yeah, those are really great. I love those. Those are really heartfelt, kind of human stories. Yeah. So is America. I really like that too. And Necropolis.
There you go.
Yeah.
Nice. McSuperfry asks, are there any popular movies that, for whatever reason, passed you by as a child, and then having finally watched them years later, you can't understand what all the fuss was about?
Yeah, do you know what? Like The Last Starfighter.
Oh, I haven't.
That's one of those kind of 80s classics, and I've watched it, and I was like, there's a few like that I missed. I'm just kind of like, nah.
Yeah. Masters of the Universe is one for me.
That's just shit. Why do people keep bringing that? It's just shit. It's just like
one that we got shit for was Highlander. I'm sorry, I just do not understand.
I still go and read the comments on that Highlander video from time to time just to amuse myself. Because I just love the people just lost their shit. Master of the Universe as well. People are like, "Well, it's a classic." It's like, no, it isn't. It's a massive hack job based on a toy line that is just objectively shit.
Yeah, no, I agree.
Subscriber number's going to drop now.
Okay, here is one from Duck Grenadine. If you could spend a 2-week luxury vacation inside the world of any film and freely socialise with some or all of... I'm being called by someone, sorry, let's get rid of that. I'll start that again. Duck Grenadine asks, if you could spend a 2-week luxury vacation inside the world of any film and freely socialise with some or all of its fictional characters, which film would you choose and why? You're both invincible, so risk/danger isn't it?
This is based on a question we've been asked before, and I was kind of like, dude, if you go to such and such universe, you're fucked.
Yeah.
If you're invincible, well, that's all bets are off. Then you go anywhere, couldn't you? That is a better version of that question, I think.
Yeah.
Because I would go to the Total Recall universe if I was invincible. It's horrible, but I'd like to go there as a tourist and just go to Mars and stuff because I'm invincible.
Yeah, I know. Well, that's sort of because that does then, like you say, it kind of takes the edge off a bit of.
It's a cheat code. It's God mode, isn't it?
Yeah.
I'd go to Total Recall land. Why the fuck not? You can't die.
That's true.
Go to Recall. Go to Last Resort.
If I can't die, then I would go somewhere like, I don't know, like I would be Mr. Creosote or something. Or like, you know what I mean? I'd go somewhere where I could indulge in like...
That's left field.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah. Go to the Monty Python Meaning of Life universe and be Mr. Creosote. Just eat until you explode.
And he doesn't die anyway, so...
That's quite good.
Yeah, maybe.
I think I said before I'd go to the Star Trek universe because it's like really utopian if you stay within certain areas.
Yeah.
But now I'm invincible, fuck it. Go wherever. I'll go to Mega City 1.
Because I would have said like Superman. I know, I'd go be Batman, but I'd be invincible.
It'd be Invincible Batman.
So...
you could just go to a superhero... We've warped your question. Go to any superhero universe, just be better at it because you're invincible.
That's it. There you go.
There you go.
Indigo Film Freak asks, if you could remake one film that in your opinion is awful but would have the potential to be better, which one would it be?
I think Adventures of Buckaroo Banzai is really quite overrated. Like, it's got all the components, but if you watch it, it's a bit like... I think you could probably get away with remaking it and not worry too much. I wouldn't be too sacred cow about that. I think that'd be actually all right to go and...
Yeah, I mean, that's a funny one. That I think that is, again, it's a bit like a Highlander thing. People are like, it's so great, but they don't really mean it. You know what I mean? It's because,
true. It's true. It's so good on paper,
Yeah.
But like the reality of it, you actually watch it, it's like, oh, this is kind of a mess.
Yeah, yeah. Do I have one? See, I'm bad like this. Some of the recent superhero efforts, maybe.
Oh yeah.
I think, well, because given the budget and given the effects that are at people's disposal, I do think they've been quite stilted in how they've rolled those out. And
Well, you know, you could totally, because you know there was that weird fad for making pulp heroes in the 90s, so like the Shadow and the Phantom and stuff like that.
Right.
Oh, Tank Girl's like a 90s comic, yeah, but things from like the 20s and 30s pulps.
Oh, sorry, yeah.
So like the Phantom with Billy Zane is definitely shit. And again, you could remake. You did a good, cool version of the Phantom. I think.
That's true. Could do.
I mean, if you wanted to remake that film, you could do a better version of that.
There's the Rocketeer. I still haven't watched that.
Oh, Rocketeer's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, Rocketeer's really cool.
Leave that alone.
Leave that well alone. People are going nuts.
Sam Gavin.
Hello, Sam. Sam saw me in hospital.
Bless him. From Sam's channel. Go check that out. Says, let's say Studio Anal just gave you the budget to finance your own film with a sizable crew. Which department would you put yourself in charge of if given the choice? And why? Alternatively, what's your favourite part of the filmmaking process? Which is kind of the same question.
The acting department.
Well, yeah, for me,
I'm the head of the acting department.
I'd just be the lead in everything, and that'd be that. But
yeah.
How about yourself?
I'll do special effects.
Yeah.
That was my favourite. That's what I fell in love with, really.
Would you be a runner?
Oh, yeah, just go do the worst job. It's just like, yeah, I've got to bring the... Oh, it was a leg joke. Yeah. I'd do special effects. I'd go be Tom Savini. That's why I'd love to do that. Go and do all the blood and guts and stuff.
Yeah.
Of course, I'd love to direct something or whatever. But if I could be Mr. Blood and Guts effects makeup guy, yeah, definitely.
Yeah, that'd be pretty cool. Do you think there's much? It's funny because obviously a lot of that stuff is just done in post now, and I don't know if.
Yeah, well,
there's still a call for practical effects.
In terms of makeup and stuff. I mean, because people are having it both ways these days. It's like that ridiculous Thing prequel where they shot the whole thing with practical effects by ADI and then replaced it with CGI afterwards. It's just this horrible thing. So yeah, but this is a fantasy situation. So I guess I would be head of special effects in 1987.
Right.
Yeah. I'd be like, Rob Bottin or Rick Baker or, Greg Nicotero or something.
Yeah.
Tom Savini.
Yeah. Well, that'd be cool. Okay, the Remy X Factor, I guess, asks, could you and Duncan go back and do some commentaries from the films you've covered previously? Thinking like the Jaws movies, for example. The commentaries for the sequels are really funny, but it'd be cool to hear you guys give it another go. And he says more stuff, but yes.
We just talked about that last night.
Yeah, and just now.
And just now. Yeah, and just now. Yeah.
Yeah, we're going to be doing that. So
yeah, we're going to crack on with that quite soon, actually, because there was a bit of a gap between the last commentary, but we are 100% going to do that. Yeah, I don't know specifically necessarily Jaws, but it's as good as anything else in terms of what we've already done. So
yeah. The Royal Flush 1778 asks, do you have a novel or novels that you think could be adapted into a great movie?
Yeah, I Am Legend. I have real issues of that one they made. Right. So I'd like to do. There's a Vincent Price version called The Last Man on Earth, which sticks really quite close to the book. But I think you could do we could do
the Omega Man.
I really like the Omega Man actually, even though again it's just like, well, we've kept everybody's names the same.
Yeah.
But because the Will Smith remake, the Will Smith I Am Legend is just a remake of the Omega Man, really. But anyway, you could do I Am Legend for no money. Like that book, you could do it for. Okay, there's some big crowd scenes and stuff, but you could do it for no money. So there.
Yeah, especially as I don't know if they're still going ahead with it, but Pinewood were going to build like fake cities. Effectively, they were going to build famous streets from places like Paris and like from major cities around the backlot, I think, or around that in Ivor Heath, and with the view, obviously, to them being able to film stuff like that without having to shut down streets.
Yeah, right.
Kind of presumably with a giant blue screen at the back of it, so you can put the Eiffel Tower in. But, yeah. So things like that should get easier as we go. The Original Being asks, what children's TV shows do you remember
watching
when little?
Oh, that's strange. Well, it's not strange, but okay. Trumpton, Wurzel Gummidge, Parsley and the Herbs, Crystal Tips and Alistair. Come on, help me out. Rainbow,
yeah. Nightmare. Just give me a headache. I have every time I think about my childhood watching TVs, I think about having a headache after probably an hour or two because the frame rate of old TVs, I've realised this now, was so low, and I guess you were just being bombarded with cathode rays. So, it's
like in The Simpsons where there's that silhouette of Homer like burnt into the carpet. Just sat there watching TV.
Like a Hiroshima victim.
Just a shadow. Just a shadow.
Yeah, there's things like Nightmare Home give me, and I guess because they were all filmed on video, weren't they? So the light trails in.
Yeah, it's that kind of shitty. I always think Nightmare. I fucking love Nightmare. Also, I talked about this before vaguely, but there used to be like Britain used to be like a real powerhouse for children's animation, particularly like Cosgrove Hall, that do kind of they Wind in the Willow series and Duckula and Danger Mouse, both of which are still really funny and really hold up. They're really nicely made cartoons. We used to make all this great original animation. We don't anymore. And obviously Oliver Postgate, who did Bagpuss and all the lovely stuff he did, and Ivor the Engine and stuff, it just seems to be all gone. And now, do you know when you accidentally tune into kids' TV on a Saturday morning because for some reason you're up before 12 and it's just confusing. Loud. It makes me feel like Clint Eastwood in Gran Torino.
Yeah.
TV now.
It's not. It's not as inventive. It's certainly obviously post. What's his name? The Thunderbirds guy.
Joe Anderson. There's a new Joe Anderson Marination series. I mean, he's dead, but there's a new Joe Anderson stable thing, and it's called. It used to be called like Super Marination, but it's called Hyper Marination, and I believe it's still puppets.
Okay.
But they've augmented it with loads of crazy CGI stuff. It looked really gnarly, but also kind of weird.
Yeah. And isn't the new Dark Crystal thing kind of like that as well?
Oh, is it?
I think so.
That's referring to that question earlier. That's the Dark Crystal, one of those films I've seen as an adult, and I was just like,
I can't get through it. Highly boring. Anyway, Adrian Mendoza asks, will you do a video on Italian zombie films and what they contributed to the zombie genre?
Kind of already done it since you asked, because it's been so fucking long. Sorry. We will have seen one of them already, and we've got one more coming, which isn't like a video essay, it's just a regular episode of our show. So definitely. Well, we've already done it, but I'd like to cover it in more detail, so yeah.
Lawn Boy's Post, Loin Boy's Post 1975, brackets, the home of Dave, asks, says, feel better soon.
Thank you very much.
Says, are you still able to enjoy movies despite knowing that the main actor is a dick or has issues? His examples, not mine, Christian Bale and Tom Cruise, etc.
I've got a Die Hard book in my eyeline as we speak, because that's the Bruce Willis thing, isn't it? I still love. You just see Bruce Willis being an arse, and he's the kind of current arsehole du jour, I suppose. But I still watch the stuff that he's done. I still like it. I mean, maybe you know what? I don't enjoy his newer films because they're just not very good.
Yeah.
But he hasn't done anything more than be an arse. It's not like he's killed anybody.
I don't care really what people get up to off camera, and I also have to understand that you're having all of it filtered through the lens of media and everything. You're not there firsthand unless you are. But I mean, I've been on some big sets with that, big actors. I've never seen any of that really.
I'm not one to.
I've heard tell of it, but
I don't watch or in any way enjoy the films of Roman Polanski, and I don't care what they are.
Yeah.
Because he bum raped a fucking 12-year-old, and we're somehow all right with that. Like, I know it's more complex than that, but frankly...
No, but I agree. I mean, it's that sort of thing.
And when I was doing my degree, we kept using Polanski. It's like, we're going to do Chinatown, stuff like that. And it's kind of like, I'm not all right with that.
Yeah.
But there you go.
This is kind of a question we've had a bunch before, but let's have it anyway. Tug Speedman.
That's that's a Tropic Thunder reference. Tug Speedman.
His pictures of Ben Stiller.
So
this is going to be quite well.
Sorry.
This might upset you considering our previous answer, but considering Hollywood's obsession with constantly remaking everything, don't agree with that. But okay, are there any films out there that you think could actually benefit from being remade? Tropic Thunder, maybe. For instance, something that had a great premise but ultimately wasn't lived up to. So that's kind of an amalgam of the questions we've had.
And then I've gone and dissed the film that you clearly like. Shit, sorry, man. Not Tropic Thunder.
I don't know. The premise of the saying that Hollywood's obsessed with remakes. I think, there's a lot of them, but I wouldn't say they're obsessed with them. I don't think it's. If you boiled it down to the percentage of new films that are coming out, I don't think they are.
What's the bloody? I don't want to kick the Star Wars wasp's nest, but Rian Johnson's film, The Time Travel with Joseph Gordon-Levitt and Bruce Willis. Looper. That's something that I was really down for on paper, but then that actual film I just thought was really fucking stupid and I didn't like it. Okay. There's so much dumb shit in that film. but I like the premise. It's a good premise.
Yeah.
And in terms of what it means for those characters, in terms of what they've bought into as a contract and stuff, it's really interesting. But it's kind of like, oh, so the guy from the future like carved like a dick in his head, but then I saw it in the past, and it's just like, this sounds like if you let a 12-year-old talk for half an hour and just wrote it all down and went out and shot it. That's Looper.
Okay. I quite like Looper.
I did not.
I know it's right. It's one of those things. I think I've seen it twice, so that's probably enough for me.
It
but
really disappointed me because I really like my time travel sci-fi, and it sounded like some kind of cool 1970s sci-fi thing, and then the reality was just dumb as a pile of bricks.
Okay. What could be remade that I think needs remaking? It's tough, really, because I think we've been through that era. You know, I think we've had the kind of stuff that needed to be remade was remade, and then I mean, I might go back and look at some of the old World War II films actually, because my dad is a big fan of World War II movies from the era, you know, from the 50s and stuff like that, the old black and white stuff, and I love the stories and the premise of all of it. There's one, is it the Maltese Falcon? I think it was one of them that was a really great premise and a really, really fascinating one, and obviously based on true events, and obviously we're seeing things like that with Dunkirk, but I'd like to see stuff like that kind of remade with a modern sensibility so that it's not...
It's funny that I think particularly like Casablanca's like a big sacred cow, and it's something that Warner Brothers has dined out on Casablanca for so long, and they still use as time goes by on all their stings and stuff like that, and it's one of those things that they would never ever touch, just because you've got me in a Humphrey Bogart kind of mindset now. And it's like, you know, you wouldn't remake Citizen Kane. You could, but you know, they haven't. I'm not saying they should. I really love Citizen Kane. I wouldn't touch it.
I suppose what I mean by that is that like some of those films I feel don't find an audience anymore because of their pacing and because of the limitations of the filmmaking at the time. For a modern audience, you're kind of in a post Private Ryan kind of world. You're not really... I don't know. I don't feel they quite have the same resonance that they should. I mean, they require more suspension of disbelief, I suppose, just purely because. I mean, bear in mind, a lot of them have actual stock footage from World War II in them, which is great. But I think that somewhere out there there's a Malta film, there's a Battle of Britain film.
Do you know the actor Audie Murphy? You've heard of Audie Murphy?
Vaguely.
He was like an actual soldier in World War II, and then he came home and played himself in films about his exploits.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh,
so
okay. Cool.
He was. Yeah. So that's a weird like. Yeah. It's like stock footage. It's like the real guy.
Nice.
You know.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, maybe something like that. I don't know. Alid Gravel asks, "What's the most disappointing film you've seen?"
Oh God, Looper. It's definitely up there. I built myself up for Looper a lot because Shane Carruth, who directed Primer, was supposedly advising on Looper, and I was like, oh, this is going to have really solid time travel stuff, because Primer is like is one of the tightest time travel premises ever.
Right.
And then Looper is probably one of the worst executed time travel setups in my view. So I don't want to double dip there, but Looper, I went to see that in cinema, I was just kind of like, what is this? But then I kind of built it up.
Right.
But then there's kind of like that sublime disappointment of, say, when we all rushed out to the cinema to go see The Phantom Menace, and then for about a month we all kidded ourselves that it was really great, and then there was like, wait a minute.
Yeah, I think there are films like that you're disappointed with in hindsight, and then I think there's films for me, Terminator 3 is probably the most disappointed I've been.
Oh jeez, yeah. Even though I knew what I was getting, but I was actually angry when I came out of that.
I mean, I'd seen the trailer, but I guess I went in. That was a film I had a very specific idea. There are others as well where I had a very specific idea of where I thought a third film should go, and I just really didn't go there.
Well, I said this before. This is a really bait answer, but like the 2014 RoboCop, because I thought it was going to be bad, and then I watched Jose Badilla's other films, the Elite Squad films, and Bus 187 and stuff, which are really good films. And I was kind of like, yeah, man, this guy's perfect for this, mate. Like, this was in the days leading up to it. I was like, this guy's fucking perfect for this.
Yeah, I remember.
That was the first time I met you, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And yeah, that was just like, you motherfucker.
James Walk asks, you already know the answer to this, James, but what are the chances of you and or Duncan doing some gaming shit on the channel? If so, would it be Let's Plays, streams, or
I do some stuff. I haven't asked yet, but I think you and I should do a bit of Alien Isolation, do the DLC.
Okay.
Because it's got the whole Nostromo thing. I think it'd be really fun to do if we did that together. Yeah. So it's just getting us in the room, because getting us in the room together is quite we have to cram in loads of stuff, and it's normally episodes of our main show when we're in the same room. But I'm going to do more Let's Play stuff, but I thought it'd be nice for you to come and do Alien Isolation.
Yeah. All right. Sounds good.
Your wife just gave us the 5-minute nod, so should we do an awkward jump cut?
Yes. Sam Montgomery asks 3 questions. 1, favourite Gordon Ramsay quote.
There is a classic episode of Gordon Ramsay's Kitchen Nightmares, the original one, where he goes to the Fish and Anchor in Wales, and he tells the man's wife that she looks like Shrek in a frock. Now, I wouldn't ordinarily be ready to answer that question, but that is quite a monumental moment of Gordon Ramsay for me. So I kind of
Okay.
Shrek in a frock.
Fair enough. Number 2, biggest non-stop movie marathon of a movie franchise / genre.
I once did all 10 Jason movies. No. Yeah, it's when Freddy vs. Jason came out, so we did 11 Jason movies back to back once. We did all 7 Elm Streets and Freddy vs. Jason. We did a kind of zombie one, which wasn't really a franchise, so we got together, I think we watched like 12 or 13 zombie films. We used to do this a lot when I was younger, and we did like all 6 Star Wars films as it was once. So I've done my time in the pen.
You win, but I think in terms of movies, I think the only ones I've really done are like Terminator, when Terminator 3 came out, which is only 2 movies.
The trilogy!
And I did Dark Knight, Batman Begins and Dark Knight when Dark Knight Rises came out with my mate Josh. But I have done the first 3 seasons of 24. I've watched on the hour, every hour, an episode for 24 hours.
Oh,
and I did that.
What?
And on the hour that they start at. So the first season we started at midnight, went through to midnight the following night. The second one I think is 7 a.m.
So if you're on DVD, you get like a 15-minute break every hour.
Yeah, that was the idea. Until the final hour, which you stop everything and then catch up with. Yeah.
Oh my god!
And so I did that. It added nothing. Well, it added something, I suppose, but it don't do it. It's not worth it. They had a thing when the final season came out. They had a thing you could win the box set or something, and they had a cinema set up showing all of them back to back. I think 2 people managed to get through literally every single hour of 24.
What, so if you
had to stay awake, you couldn't fall asleep.
How many seasons is that?
9, and a TV movie.
Wait, so.
Although I don't know if 9 was out then, so it might have just been 8.
So I guess they wouldn't put.
Still.
Is that? I mean, that's like a week.
Yeah, it was several days. Yeah.
That's like when they do that thing where you have to put your hands on the truck and then like some, single mum dies in a car park trying to win a fucking VCR or whatever. That's horrific.
Yeah.
Okay.
Anyway, number 3 is, with there being a Godzilla movie coming in 2019, could you do an It Ain't Broke on Godzilla in 1998, despite the fact that it is broken on a number of levels?
I'll be quite up for that, because it's such a mess.
I've never seen it.
Have you never seen it? No. I saw it in the cinema. Weirdly,
more fool you.
Yeah, I know, right? Weirdly, it has loads of the cast of The Simpsons in it.
Yeah, it's got Hank Azaria.
Hank Azaria, Harry Shearer. There's a few others as well.
Okay.
It's really weird, and obviously is just fucking bad. But it's one of those kind of train wrecks that I think's worth. I remember the animated series of that being all right. Don't ask me why I was watching it at that age, but it's actually all right.
Yeah, God, yeah, I forgot about that.
Pretty decent. I will get to it. That's worth a commentary as well, actually. Because again, it's just like this dog dirt sort of train wreck.
John Cody asks, if I could ask a question to both of you, you can. Would you be curious to see a director's cut or re-edited version of any movies that don't already have multiple versions available? I think we're going to see Blade Runner recut again.
Fucking Blade Runner. Is that one question for both of you?
Yes, yeah.
You know what? I kind of feel like the ones that don't need it. So, for example, well, I don't know. I suppose one of these things it's like you don't know what you want until you've been given it. I'm not sure. Because, like, for example, I don't look at The Thing and think that needs more. I kind of view that as a perfect thing. I don't think it would benefit from extra stuff. And there's an argument about because I think we're not totally on the same page about like James Cameron director's cuts, are we? Because I think, do you tend to prefer the shorter ones, like Aliens, Terminator 2?
I think now in retrospect, I think there is a cut that's on most of those films. There's a cut that's halfway between. I think if you split the difference on things like the Terminator 2, because I think a lot of the impetus behind that was to just release as much footage as possible. And I think actually the Terminator 2,
because there's like the ultimate cut, which I even think is too much, but the director's cut I think is just right in terms of its extra stuff.
Yeah, I think whichever one it was that was released around the early 2000s or whenever it was.
Yeah, I think that's the super duper cut with like when the 2,000 searches his bedroom and stuff like that.
Yeah. Oh no, I'm talking about the one that doesn't have that and doesn't have the ending.
Okay, so I mean that actually came out in the late 90s
Right.
or in the 90s, but then it got
It was on TV.
releases. Yeah, it was BBC.
That one again, even that I would chop down a little bit more. I would take out the him trying to smile thing because I don't think that. I think that.
But it pays off later.
Yeah.
So I told you we disagree.
I know.
It pays off later.
Know,
the chip scene as well is an absolute
That's
travesty.
got to be,
that
yeah,
out.
that-
The annoying thing about the chip scene is it's like one small piece of dialogue means you don't need it.
Yeah.
But it's one of the most audacious pieces of practical effects ever staged in my view.
Mm.
If you were to give me the option to go like, all right, I wouldn't necessarily want these things cut back into the film, but if you were to say like, here's a big pile of deleted material from George A. Romero's movies or John Carpenter's movies, and you can just watch them in isolation, fine. But I don't look at a lot of stuff. Like there are multiple cuts of Dawn of the Dead with different tones and stuff, so that's already available. Ignore that. Day of the Dead, there are only shorter versions that have been cut for gore.
Okay.
But if you were to say to me, here are some deleted scenes, I think that film is a perfect length and I wouldn't want it to be any longer. But if you told me, here's like a Broken Biscuits box of...
I mean, there's some obvious ones, I suppose. You could say something like Suicide Squad, but then I'm kind of I don't care enough to see that recut. I mean, but I don't know if that's just because of my age or what, or because
if there is a good version of that just sat somewhere, yeah, I'd watch it. But I'm not going to blow anyone for it. You know what I mean?
McSuperfly, I think we've had a question from already, but I'll quickly answer this. It's from me anyway. Have you considered attempting branching out into voiceover work, considering your extensive repertoire of impressions and accents? Thank you. I have done some voiceover work, but one of my New Year's resolutions is to get a voice reel together finally, because I've been bad at that. So yes, is the answer to your question. George Jones asked, what are your opinions on the modern fad, I think you mean, of making male characters in film and TV female? This is politically charged, but obviously it has connotations of Ghostbusters, Doctor Who, Jane Bond. Do you think there's any genuine creative motives behind these? Political alert. I think I don't want to get into it particularly, but I think things like on an individual basis it can work. I think Doctor Who worked. I think it depends on the motivation.
It depends from character to character. I mean, certain things I just don't really give a shit about. Like certain ones, because you'll get quite often. I know, for example, like the Battlestar Galactica reboot. I think it was Starbuck. Was it one of the characters was turned to female, and no one seemed to really give a shit. And quite a lot of the stuff. And the Ghostbusters film, the characters weren't turned to female, were they? They were different characters. They fit a kind of loose template. Doctor Who, despite what you can argue, is about a character that can just change their body every now and then to say, yeah, whatever. And I think Jodie Whittaker's doing a really good job against some quite boring scripts.
Right.
I don't really have much of an opinion on it, to be honest. I can't think of any big examples, but it's definitely something that happens in remakes. And it's quite often just ancillary characters, and it's been going on for years, and no one's given a shit. And then suddenly, because it's Space Year 2019, we all have to have an opinion about it.
I suppose...
Which is not a slight on you, sir, for asking that question.
No. I suppose what you want us to get to is the kind of nub of the matter, which is the motivations for doing it. I think if they're done while safeguarding what makes those characters and intrinsically those characters, then I think it's fine. If it's done just to appease a certain mob, then it doesn't really work.
Spoilers for Into the Spider-Verse.
Oh.
You've been warned. Skip ahead maybe 20 seconds or something. Dr. Octopus is female.
Oh, okay.
But the thing is, it's about different dimensions.
Right.
So it doesn't matter, because the Spider-Man who discovers that is from a dimension where Dr. Octopus is male.
Okay.
And then it makes a good twist, because you don't expect, they kind of tell that character too much.
Right.
And then she kind of goes like, ah, ha, 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 and then you're like, oh, so it serves the plot.
Yeah, and I mean, I suppose being male isn't something that's necessarily intrinsic to Dr. Octopus, is it?
Well, no, not really.
Not that I don't know.
Again, it's in multiple dimensions, so no one's saying that,
case,
fucking, there is a male Dr. Octopus. There's a Dr. Octopus with penis and testes, if that's what you prefer. But if ovaries in your bag, you can,
Nine-topus, if you include that. Yeah, I mean, I don't mind. It can work if done well, and that's fine. No,
Yeah.
I don't have a problem with it at all, really. James Harris asks you, what are your plans for either possibilities of a career or the future of the channel? I'm not sure what that means. Please consider another Trash Talk B-movie update.
Oh fuck yeah. Yeah. Well, we just want to make it. What I'd really like is for it to support itself, because I would do so much more stuff if I didn't have to spend the rest of my time feeding myself. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like making bread and butter. Like I would definitely do.
You make your own butter?
And bread.
Oh.
I've got a cow.
That makes bread.
It makes bread whilst I'm milking it for the butter. I would do loads more stuff. I've got a mini doc already in the can that I need to edit. I just haven't had time. I would definitely do Trash Talk as a whole thing. I would love to do way more mini docs and stuff, and we'd do that together. The problem is with It Ain't Broke, we can just knock those together every now and then. But when we're producing 3 videos a week for the channel, it's really big draw on my time, and we basically cover our travel. Like the money this barely touches my rent, for example. So I need to spend the rest of my time, which I work in media production, which is good because it means like I can build the gear together, which feeds back into the channel. But until it turns a profit, there's only so much we can do with it, which is kind of sucks. It sucks as an answer, but if it gets popular and becomes a bit more self-sustaining, I would be doing stuff all day, every day. But I have to go and make corporate videos and shit like that the rest of the time. And
it will snowball, I think, won't it?
Hope so. Hope so.
Duncan, yes.
Yeah.
In your opinion, does considering work as an extra in acting help or hinder your resume/CV if you say take on board that more so than pursuing lead or supporting roles? Yes, it's not. I think doing background or extra work is. My mum's calling me now. Doing background or extra work is, I think, fine when you're starting out and you need to make some money and you want to be on sets. It's a great way to be on a set without any risk. You can literally practice acting effectively on a big production or something like a TV show without that. But if you were to do it, I would say don't go around telling people you're an actor. Don't flaunt it, because it's not something that casting directors or people really want to see. And it's a sort of hangover from. It's a slightly old way of looking at things, but I do understand it, which is that you're only really as good as your last thing, and so therefore if you've been an extra, that sort of says to people that because it's not really. I think as soon as they open the doors to anyone to do it, because that's what they did basically. It used to be that I think you had to have an equity club, but even in the States you had to be a SAG or whatever member. So it was like from actors, but I think since they opened the floodgates to just anyone, it's become quite a sort of, because it's not acting in its purest sense. It's just, it is just sitting around and walking from A to B and stuff and filling in the background. It's not necessarily my opinion. It is a fact that you shouldn't really. I think you can do it, but just keep it on the down low. I don't do it, but there we are. Floyd75 Dylan asks, "What's your favourite Jason Statham film?"
Jason Statham.
I am not the guy.
What?
Arse.
I have many. I'm a fan of the potato-headed wonder. Yeah. Because he did loads of nut stuff, right? And I like all of that, like all your cranks and stuff. But did you ever see Hummingbird?
No.
Really good film called Hummingbird. It's like it's kind of like Taxi Driver. It's about a guy who comes back from Afghanistan and he lives homeless in London. I think in Soho in Chinatown, and he like falls in love with like a Polish nun and sort of does some vaguely kind of vigilante-ish stuff. It's all very street level. It's all quite subtle. It's a good movie. It's like a legitimately good movie.
Right.
But in the film Safe, he throws a dinner plate into someone's neck. So I also like that as well.
I would say it's probably, I don't know if it's a bit lazy of an answer, but probably Transporter. I really like Transporter.
Transporter's got the first Transporter is really cool. The second Transporter is completely nuts. I like third, really. In The One. Have you seen The One? In The One, It's one of his first, the one with Jet Li
Yeah, I
and
know,
Delroy
yeah.
Lindo.
Yeah.
It's like one of his first American films, and they've tried to make it to an American accent, and it's just like you know those adverts when it's kind of like to spot the signs of stroke, because
The fire or whatever.
my name's Agent America. I'm from America, and it's just like stop talking. What are you doing? And in The Ghosts of Mars, he does like this sort of accent spectrum.
Yes.
We watched that in that hotel that time.
Yes, yeah.
It goes from like South African to British to American. It just goes all the way around.
I think I thought in the first Transporter as well he was supposed to be American.
Yeah, well, he does this kind of like, sometimes he does this like, I'll tell you this much, when he's supposed to be British, you fucking know it.
Yeah.
But like sometimes he does this kind of like transatlantic-y, because Transporter felt like he was supposed to be American, and I think they say he's ex-Special Forces or something.
Yeah, yeah. He's very much English in the subsequent ones.
Yeah.
But I think the first one.
In Crank 2, Jerry Halliwell plays his mum.
Oh, God, yeah.
I love Crank and Crank 2. They're so mental.
They are.
But Hummingbird is I mean, in terms of just defending him in terms of an actor, like Hummingbird is a legitimately cool movie. It's about, he's got like PTSD and stuff.
Right.
Good film. But also Plate and Neck.
Right. Plate and Neck.
Plate and Neck.
For the win. Question 2 is, what's your favourite Duncan Casey performance / film? Which I can't really answer.
Well, I did enjoy you and Kenneth being northern and sort of strung out. I thought that was really fun.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. Just generally anything I've done, filmed you in. This I get the best out of him. I'm very much his De Niro. Wait, no, Scorsese.
Yeah.
John Woo to your Chow Yun-Fat.
Okay. Neil Hutchinson asks, what film did you dislike on the first viewing but then came to like / love?
The World's End.
Okay, yeah.
I said that in an episode. When I watched it, I was really disappointed, but I think subsequent viewings and age have made me appreciate it a lot more.
Okay.
I think there's a lot going on. Don't get me wrong, as I said at the time, it's no Hot Fuzz and it's no Shaun of the Dead, but it's a legitimately really lovely movie.
I'd probably say Interstellar for me, actually,
really?
Weirdly. I mean, there are other films that I can't think of right now, but because we were talking about
this
that.
came up a bit yesterday, didn't it?
Yeah, with TGV. Probably. I wouldn't. Do I love it? I don't know if I love it, but I do appreciate it a lot.
So I really love it, and I did from the get-go.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Graham Burns, does he? Asks, will you guys...
Excellent.
Will you guys do a review to Hellraiser?
I don't really.
And its sequel.
Someone asked earlier about stuff that you just don't really get. Hellraiser.
For some reason, I had an epiphany around that film that made it all make sense to me, and I kind of want to do that with Toby.
All right. No, he likes Clive. Him and Toby can do it. I'll be behind the camera.
Because I know what you mean. I think actually when you come back and watch it now, I think it's more, its ideas and its imagery were kind of indelible, but I don't think as a film it's particularly...
It passed me by and I never really got it. It's full of cool imagery and cool ideas and stuff, but I just never quite... Yeah, but I'll let them do it. They can do it.
Yeah, I just had a thing that I think I can talk for half an hour about, and it's quite. It suddenly made a lot of sense. Anyway,
Free boots, mate.
We'll get to that. William Goh asks a question, which is really for you because I've never seen an episode of it. Which is favourite Doctor Who?
What, just favourite? Or does it mean
mark.
Doctor? Do you mean? I guess you mean favourite Doctor.
Yeah.
John Pertwee is my favourite. He's kind of like a. He's like a cunty karate granddad that dressed like a sort of Edwardian fop.
Fair enough.
which I liked everything about Pertwee. And I already liked him as a kid, because that was when I was watching him as a kid, because Super Ted and Wurzel Gummidge.
Right.
And he was just cool. He used to do, he was like a man of action. He used to do, what was it, like Venusian Aikido or something? He used to do martial arts, and he had a car, and he used to dress like a dandy fop, and was kind of a prick.
I have a car.
No, you haven't seen the Third Doctor's car.
I don't really get Doctor Who. I've never watched it. So I can't really say. And it's one of those things when it's like when I went through a period of I didn't eat McDonald's till I was like 18, 19. I was quite proud of that. But I probably will watch it one day, much to the annoyance of my good lady wife. And then get into it and everything. Trademark Diamond asks, why do you not particularly geek out over Bond Rich?
Just don't get it.
Fair enough.
I used to like it when I was a little kid, but then I just don't get it. He gets it. I just don't get it. It does nothing for me, man. It's sort of, yeah. I mean, they're fine and everything. It's not my cup of tea.
Fair enough. Yeah. Not everything is everyone's cup of tea.
It just doesn't work for me.
Natty31084 asks says there has been many examples of actors trying to sing and vice versa. What do you think is the worst examples of this? It's not best grammar, Natty, I'll be honest. Feel better.
Don't be mean to Natty. Don't be mean to Natty. Thank you very much.
The grammar I'm attacking.
I appreciate that. He's been a grammar Nazi.
Yeah. I think you're baiting us to say the Bros, really, with that one, aren't you? That's kind of come into the popular thing. The one I always fixate on is Bruce Willis and his Return of Bruno kind of project. Okay.
Because there's a whole the Hudson Hawk thing. He always wanted to be like a singer, and he did the Return of Bruno album. And the character of Bruno is a whole fiction that he created. And the movie Hudson Hawk exists because of that, because it's an offshoot of that Vanity Project. And I've always found that really interesting. He's not a terrible singer or anything.
Yeah.
Also, that time that Vinnie Jones released an album and did Big Bad Leroy Brown on Top of the Pops 2, which was... it's quite fun. It's fun, but he's not a great singer. He can't quite do it. But I sort of love him for it. He's got great energy, and I'm like,
I think Steven Seagal pulls off that kind of southern, but that is all he can do, which I think is that
Steven Seagal, he does a reggae number where he uses the word punani, which makes it amazing. I would go see Steven Seagal. And also the dude who played Carl Kennedy in Neighbours has a band, and he used to tour student unions.
Steven Seagal did the Corn Exchange.
Fuck off, did he?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure he did. Yeah.
Well, I'm sad about that now.
Yeah. James Carmichael asks, I'm very much in the minority when it comes to the Dark Knight trilogy. I'm one of those people who thinks the Joker was overrated. Whose favourite film in the trilogy is Batman Begins? And I'm just wondering if there's a movie, trilogy, or series of films that you feel like you're in the minority in terms of which movie / it's very long-winded, sorry. I'm just wondering if there's a movie, trilogy, or series of films that you feel like you're in the minority in terms of which movies, characters, or aspects you like best.
Back to the Future 3, isn't it? I really, really, really like Back to the Future 3. People go, it was rubbish. It's not, it's great. The others are great too. I'm not saying it's my favourite, but I really like Back to the Future 3.
I've come to appreciate that a lot more. When I was a kid, I thought it lulled too much. I thought it was too much. Was her name Clara?
Clara. I just found Back to the Future 2 is a bit of a mess. It's great, but it's a bit of a mess. It kind of is all over the place. Whereas Back to the Future 3 has like a really clear through line. I'm a fan. Also Robocop 2, Gremlins 2. These are things. Tremors 2, Aftershocks. I'm a big fan of Tremors 2, Aftershocks.
Right.
Return of the Jedi as well. People really hate
Return
of the Jedi. I fucking love that movie.
Yeah,
great
I
movie.
loved it. That's my answer. Shh, go away, shut up.
Glad you.
Actually, Lord of the Rings. I do like Lord of the Rings and I respect it, but it's not. It's just not in my wheelhouse. I guess it's just not my thing.
I don't give a shit. I don't care.
I don't like it. I give it a shit. Dijon Coleman Mustard music. Sorry, Dijon Coleman music.
I speak to Dijon a lot.
Oh, do you? Okay, cool. It says, Richard, is there a remake / reboot of a film you enjoy? Kind of. The Dawn of the Dead remake I really, really, really like. Even though I shouldn't. It has everything I shouldn't like, but I really like it. Right.
And obviously The Thing. This 1978 Philip Kaufman Body Snatchers, I think, is one of the best films ever made. I think that's a solid 3.
Yeah.
Right.
Duncan, as an actor, do you have any particular ways of getting into character for a certain scene, brackets, ones that involve heavy emotion, and how do you control such emotions so they aren't too much? I think it comes to, there are times when something comes naturally to you and sometimes when you need some help, and that's where like methods come in. And you know, people like Stanislavski and stuff by their own admission. I mean, you know, his method is probably one of the most widely taught, but he himself even wrote a whole book about why you wouldn't need it, or what, you know, why it should be your not last resort, but it shouldn't be what you come to first necessarily. And I think you know, it's kind of whatever I need to get me there in a way, but I avoid using things like sense memory because I think that can be dangerous. That can actually be that can lead to, you know, if you dig up the memory of a dying dog or something over and over again, you tend to pollute that memory, you know, so it's not. I don't do that. I mean, it depends. I mean, every scene is different, every character is different, every shot is different, you know, because sometimes you might be, you know, usually you'll find if most emotionally wrought scenes where actors are being emotional, it's a take or two maybe, but you wouldn't, you know, the rest of it will be covered from a two-shot or from all that kind of stuff. So it's kind of, you know.
Okay.
Yeah, that's not a very good answer, is it? But there we are. Okay, Eric Pieper. Good question, Eric. What was a defining film for both Duncan and Richard? I don't know who you're asking. You're asking an ethereal third person. Who?
Oh, yeah, the third.
I really am the grammar answer to that answer. What was the defining film for both Duncan and Richard? One that hit home with you personally and or... sorry, my mum's calling me again. What was the defining film for both Duncan and Richard? One that hit home with you personally and or one that made you realise cinema is a powerful art?
It's not... it's not the most mature example, but when I first watched The Evil Dead 2... and then found out how it was made and how the first one was made, and it made me realise that anybody could do it.
Right.
And not only that anybody could do it, but you could kind of do what you wanted and still get credibility for it. In that's a big, silly, mad thing that made a ton of money, and you know it kind of exists outside Hollywood and stuff, and that's what put me on the path to then digging out loads of films from the 70s and the 60s and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So like I got to say, you know, The French Connection, Body Snatchers and stuff because I watched Evil Dead 2, because I used to just watch movies, and that's when I was like, when I watched the behind the scenes on that, and it was all kind of like, oh yeah, so we strapped a 60mm camera to a motorbike and drove it through the woods, and because that's what people, and we just had a camera attached to a plank and just chase someone around. It's like, oh fuck, anyone could do this.
Yeah.
Not anyone, you have to have talent and skill
and
stuff.
It's accessible, you know.
Yeah, it felt democratised suddenly. And then just what that was is kind of a big fun thing, big fun mad thing, influenced by someone's, you know, it's influenced by the Three Stooges, because that's just what those guys like.
Right.
You know, when they made this huge success of it.
Yeah. For me, I don't know. For me, one of my earliest memories of being like amazed by a film as a kid was Superman the movie, and then coming back to that later on and finding out all the tricks of how it was made and stuff opened my eyes up to a lot of stuff as well. So that, I guess that movie has sort of over time, you know, at each sort of touchstone age that I've gotten to, I've gone back and revisited it and found more and enjoyed more from it. And there are other examples of films like that as well. The Big Lebowski is definitely one as well. But I suppose ones that, again, that I guess part of that is understanding that, you know, it was a film and understanding all the nuts and bolts of it made me appreciate it more. And definitely. Sorry, I'm just getting through. Sorry, bear with. Sorry, I've just because I've got to read all these to get. Ben Kamal asks, or says hello.
Hello.
What do you consider a pretentious film, and how do you define pretentiousness in cinema? Is the label even useful? Thanks and for all the fun.
God, that's big. I mean, like, I think the true definition of pretentious is when you... oh God, I did read this the other day. It's to do with how something... It's to do with essentially underestimating your audience. So you're kind of then putting... I think by that definition, the most pretentious film I've probably ever seen is Sucker Punch. Because you can say that stuff about David Lynch or whatever for days, but Sucker Punch is so patronising.
Right.
Like it treats you like you're an idiot. Because it's like having some first-year student going like, so like it's a dream, like every 5 minutes.
Right, okay.
And it's just kind of like, and it just it thinks it's really clever and it insults you by over-explaining itself. I know it's visually
faux profundity, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Or portent, you know, that I do find just...
Well, that's kind of what I think is the big problem with Zack Snyder's kind of superhero movies. It's the kind of faux portent and stuff like that. And I think I found Sucker Punch in particular, it's so busy explaining itself to you. It's constantly telling you how clever it is, and it's like, mate, you've tried to dress it up, but it's a bunch of Barbies in underwear enacting different stuff that you like. So there's a war section and a ninja section and a robot section, and it's just embarrassing to watch.
Fair enough. Isaac Whittaker-Dakin asks, what is the best and worst movie sequel in your humble opinions?
Oh fuck, best sequel. Worst sequel, well, like you've got your Robocop 3s and your Terminator 3s and, you know, all that malarkey. Best sequel, Gremlins 2, best sequel ever.
Yeah?
Easily. I think it's better than the first one. I think it's better than the first one.
We watched Gremlins the other day, but I got to watch Gremlins.
I watched Gremlins with my mum.
Nice.
The other day. It was very grown up. Gremlins 2, we did a whole episode on it. Best sequel ever. I just think it builds on the first one so beautifully and kind of deliberately trashes it as well, which I think is part of its genius.
Right. Yeah, I think for me, see, for a sequel to be bad, it doesn't just have to be a bad film. I think it has to be something that wrecks what came before it as well, or calls into question or doubt what came before it. And I suppose for me, a thing like, I would put Terminator 3 in a category of a bad sequel, but I think something like Terminator Genesis is worse because it craps on
what he said.
You know,
it goes
makes
out,
it a bad sequel.
Goes out of its way to crap on what was already there.
Yeah,
you know,
and obviously, and frustratingly with that is you're sort of dealing with one. I think Terminator 2 is arguably, more objectively, one of the best sequels. Also, obviously, Empire and everything. But I think, that plays into why I think Genesis is so bad, is because it undoes all the hard work of what were arguably two of the greatest films of all time. One could argue Aliens is one of the greatest sequels in terms of it really built on what it took a film you thought, how on earth can you sequelize this? And
Alien Covenant like doubles down all the mistakes from the first from Prometheus to a degree that I find quite insulting.
Right.
In that it's kind of like just saying to you like, oh, didn't like it, did you? Where's some more?
I didn't say that, really. I didn't say that. Jamie Sutherland, last question. Ask, what is your favourite country for world cinema and why?
Jamie and I have talked about Japanese cinema a lot, so I think Jamie knows. But yeah, I like Japanese movies. I like Takeshi Kitano, and I like Ozu, and I like Takeshi Miike, and I've got lots of Japanese directors that I like. But Hong Kong as well. Big fan of movies from Hong Kong. I like German films of a certain period. I've always said before that I like the expressionist period of German cinema. I've recently been introduced to sort of modern Polish movies that I've enjoyed a lot.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I've really enjoyed those. And I've been told I should check out some Hungarian ones, which I haven't got around to yet. So, yeah, that's pretentious, but going back to a previous question.
I'm not quite as worldly as you. A cop-out answer would be America, because that's world cinema. But I'm not going to do it. I think a lot of the Scandinavian stuff I quite like. That style, it's bled into our TV dramas, which I find fine, but let's move on now. Unless I'm in it. And then
that became a huge trend, didn't it?
Yeah.
That was such a fad to have the kind of Scandi
adaptation. I think it just got overplayed. I do think it's great, and I do like it, but I think it's it doesn't fit every mould. So yeah, I'd probably say that. I'm not as I have to admit I haven't watched as much Japanese stuff like TGV obviously and everything. Yes, I was a bit out of my depth, but I really enjoyed obviously him talking about them. But I kind of.
Yeah, it's worth your time. I mean, they are.
I watched some, but I watched House of Flying Daggers.
That's Chinese.
Oh, bollocks! Yeah. Well, there you go.
Oh, it's
different.
No, it's worth your time if you can. There's certain things, it's a question of how accessible you're going to find this stuff or not. So I don't really like crime films, as I said before, but Takeshi Kitano's movies. His crime movies I really like because they seem to be doing something else.
Right.
Because quite a lot, because even things like Goodfellas and stuff, even though the outcome is bad for the person and even when they're based on a true story, they seem weirdly kind of glamorizing of this stuff.
Yeah, I'm never sure if that's because of how people have responded to them all, because the films themselves are glamorized in terms of their big Hollywood blockbusters. Or whether or not it's because the film itself is glorifying that. I mean, I suppose it shows the rags to riches stuff.
There's a stylistic thing, isn't it? I think idiots missed, because it's like people who worship Scarface. It's like he tries to fuck his sister, then he dies on a big pile of drugs, having been shot to death. Like, it doesn't end well for him, but you want to be like him. Whereas like, no one wants to be like Violent Cop. That's the Takeshi Kitano film. He's like this horrible, cruel, twitching kind of beast of a man, and it's all delivered in this kind of cold, matter-of-fact way. You don't want to be him.
Right.
You know, you follow this awful character through this story. Like it's totally different to sort of like, it was the 70s and we were all getting blown on piles of cocaine, like that kind of shit.
Yeah.
So there you go. That was long, wasn't it, Jamie? Right, that's it. That's it until 20,000 subscribers. We only do it in multiples of 2. Or
Maybe 4,000.
Oh no.
Thank you very much for watching. We hope you enjoyed that. I hope that was informative, edifying, and bollock tingling, or whatever.
What have you?
Thanks very much, and we'll see you again soon.
Bye.
Support your 7th or 8th favourite YouTube channel by buying crap, tat, junk, hogwash and filth at redbubble.com/people/Valverde shop.